Hey guys, and welcome to another Factorio Workshop. As always, I am joined by Matt Zuri,
Greetings.
and today we're going to go over several oil builds. We have three of them. Well, there's a lot more actual builds than that, but one of them is a blueprint book full of stuff from Mojo. So this first one is by Ubu, and this is a beaconed, moduled, correct ratio advanced oil processing that pretty much just spits out petroleum gas. You can see we have cracking here from light to petroleum and from heavy to light, and then the refineries. And interestingly enough, the ratio for the beaconed and moduled refinery and cracking for this beacon design at least is actually just 571, which is what the non-module beacon used to be in 014. So that's pretty easy to remember. And I've just set up some creative stuff here to get it working. So what are your thoughts on here, Zuri? Any critiques or anything?
No, this should be the standard oil build pretty much for early late game, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's good ratios and pretty pretty standard. It's pretty hefty. It'll do good. I'm looking at fluid production. I'm not sure if we have another oil thing on or if this thing is actually producing like 70,000 petroleum a minute. I don't recall us having anything else powered on oil related. But we may. But still, this thing is pretty beefy. And yeah, I think that about covers it. Just uses unbarreling and barreling, which is down vanilla, so no mod needed for that.
We could cut the power and see what the production goes to.
Sure. Yeah, it looks like we still have oil production somewhere in this map. About 25 to 30,000 petroleum worth somewhere. So this thing was still doing about 30, 40,000 petroleum a minute, which is definitely not bad. And I think we can move on to this one. This is an absolute beast of a system. This is all one blueprint. This is submitted by Yoni, I think. And there's actually a really quick note. There's a blueprint book. The string is a blueprint book, and it has two designs. It has this one, and then another one that will output just petroleum and light oil to trains. This one, however, outputs all of the stuff to barrels. And we're just using a test train loaded up here. And it goes in, and we have a smart system, which I'll let you cover this and pretty much everything else with this build, Zuri. You can take over here.
Sure, yeah, it detects whether or not there's enough oil in here, and it'll actually turn off the train station. Their beacons are designed here on the edge so that you can tile this up and down in case you have, that much oil coming into your base that you need more than one of these.
Yeah.
And it'll turn off the station, and you're supposed to rename this station up here the same so that the trains that are waiting at the signal here won't get a no pathing error.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this oil balancer is based off of my train unloading designs, but instead of using the inserters, he's using pumps, which is kind of clever. I like it.
Yes.
These appear to be working 100%, which is awesome for the refineries anyway. And it's max beacon, like max. There's a lot of beacons on these things, like 16 beacons and 3 productivity modules. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. And if we just look here, I'm looking at fluids again, and it looks like we're doing about. Did we shut off that top one? No, let me turn that
So
off too. So if we have like 30,000 petroleum being made somewhere else on the map, but if we take that and subtract it from our account, this thing produces over 100,000 petroleum gas a minute.
it's
Which
not at 100% because it's siphoning some light and heavy off for other things, since it's doing all.
Right. So yeah, it also produces lube, heavy and light, which it all sends to barrels here. You can see They're actually speed modulated as well, just to be able to keep up with the insane amount of production this thing has.
Yeah, I was really concerned that this wouldn't be able to output through the pipes enough, but evidently that's not the issue.
No, it seems to run fully. And another thing I'd just like to touch on is in the middle here, he has some very basic smarts with the pumps. These two here are just set to essentially say that if lube barrels are over 400, it's going to let the cracking for the heavy to light actually work. So it's kind of prioritizing the lube over the heavy to light cracking, which I think is fine because, you know, you need lube for the electric engine stuff for science. And very clever. I was looking through here. Very, very clever pipe routing. How he has these all lined up, even though it's like heavy to light cracking and light to petroleum right next to each other. His pipe routing to get this all to work without intermixing, I think, is really clever. And yeah, I'm just looking through here. I mean, I don't know about you, Zuri. I don't really have any critiques. I know that you had, or criticism rather. I don't know if I know you had like one about this middle part not overlapping beacons.
Yeah, I'd rather move the middle together and turn them around and put the gas on the outside, just so that that initial overlap exists, instead of relying on a second copy of this to overlap some set of beacons.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd get more overlap if you rearranged it a little bit so that the beacons in the middle are already overlapping, but that would prevent it from overlapping beacons on vertically.
Yeah.
Yeah, in case you build a second one.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like I've noticed this all stops. I think stopped is just due to the smarts. I think on these inserters, it's just shut everything off because we're full up.
Yep, we filled up. It's done.
Yeah, so just in that time we were explaining it, we have like 2,000 petroleum barrels and then, you know, several hundred of all the others, which is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, you can see the production pretty clearly on the 10-minute graph, what it did.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty crazy. So, yeah, that takes care of this one. Really like it. Overall, good job. Just really the thing in the middle with the beacons tiling. And then we'll move down to this. So all this down here is submitted by Mojo, which most of you should know. It was in a blueprint book. And there's several others. There's train station unloaders for all this too that we didn't show because they're pretty straightforward. Some of these you may recognize, like this one down here is actually almost identical to the one we made in the Relearning the Game series in one of the episodes. He's changed it a bit, by the looks of it for the better. But yeah, I'll kind of let you just explain these as well, Zuri, if you'd like.
Sure. He also included stations for plastic, so you can make this an outpost. And I don't think it requires any water input for this one. But there's a explosive build here. There's a... Okay, this actually takes a lot of water. I don't think this is enough. I think you need like 2 pumps on each of these pipes that I look at it.
Yeah, just the sheer amount of water.
Yeah, for the acid. It eats a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
But I might be wrong. We didn't turn these on because we've seen these operate before. Many times before.
Yeah, so we know these work, and you know, we've pretty much built things very similar to this, anyways.
This one I think is my favorite though. It's a coal liquefaction, and it turns all the heavy into lube, and then it feeds itself its own solid fuel for the boilers, and there's a little bit left over for gas up here.
Yeah, which I actually hadn't noticed initially this, but now that you mention it, it is really, really clever that he's fed the solid fuel from light directly back into the boilers to feed itself for the steam. I think that's really clever idea.
Yeah, I really like this build. I wanted to, like, this is the reason why I wanted him to include this blueprint book, was so I think the exact quote I used was "sing praise to it."
Yeah, This is very, very impressive by Mojo here. And then yeah, we just have a solid fuel only build. It pretty much just takes all 3 of the output liquids and turns all of it into solid fuel.
And then all that into rocket fuel top.
Yeah, a massive rocket fuel build. Which, is, again, very straightforward. It's just pretty much like any other production thing with assemblers. Just straight assemblers, the beacons, top, bottom, max beacon, max module. And yeah, I think that about covers it. I'm just going to quickly, for my screen, I'm just going to open this blueprint book and just show in the book, we have a crude oil unloader, we have a lubricant load, we have an acid load, we have a rocket fuel loader for train, we have an oil-based iron plate unloader for, what would take iron plate?
Acid?
Acid, duh. I always forget that. And then just a 111 oil train stacker that you could just, stack however many times you need it for however many oil trains you have. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. This is a super beefy plastic build too. This will make unimaginable amount of plastic. We had to build very similar to this, or almost probably identical, in the 015 map, and it did a ton of plastic. I think that's about it. Do you have any other thoughts for any of this, Suri?
No. We finally addressed the Zuri Lu build, though. That's been a running joke in the comments section for a while.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go, guys. I think that's gonna do it. Links down in the description, as always, for all the blueprint book for Mojo's thing, the blueprint book for this middle one here, that will have both the designs I mentioned, and then for the top design as well. And really, really solid builds all the way around. If you're looking for oil builds or struggling, definitely worth checking these out. And yeah, I believe that'll do it for this one, unless you have any last thoughts.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Love to hear your thoughts down in the comments, and we will see you next time.
Later.